The next few poses will be done in a standing position. Please move slowly and at your own pace. Keep the sturdy chair nearby for balance if needed. If you find that I'm talking faster than you are moving, please take your time and do fewer repetitions. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. Place the feet about hips-width apart and grounded on the floor. Lift the toes and spread them nice and wide, and feel the navel pull gently in towards the spine. Push the toes into the floor and lean forward just a little bit. Feel the muscles that keep you steady. Lean back just a little bit and feel the toes come up. Feel the muscles that keep you steady in this position. Now push all four corners of the feet into the floor. Notice the steadiness of mountain pose. Notice how the steadiness of mountain pose feels. On the next inhale, roll the shoulders towards the ears, back and down so the shoulders are slightly open. Let the palms rest open to the side. Inhale and let the arms rise with the palms facing up. Exhale, bend at the elbows and allow the hands to come down the center line. Sink into the knees just a little. Repeat this again. Inhale, lift the arms with the palms facing up. Allow the hands and face to be relaxed. Continue with this movement at your own pace. Breathe as you move and try to coordinate the breath with the movement. On the next breath, lift the arms back over the head. Fingertips point in, palms face up. Imagine that you have candles in the palms of your hands and you do not want to spill them. Turn the fingertips so they face behind you. The palms remain up. Turn the fingertips to the side and then to the front like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again, towards one another, and then forwards like an offering, then out to the side walls. Breathe as you move, up to the top with the fingers facing in again. Let's do this rotation one more time. After the second rotation, allow the hands to cascade down by the side and let them rest. Pause for one slow inhale and exhale. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. This next exercise is excellent for strengthening the spine and gently stretching the muscles of the back, front, and sides. Attempt to make the movement easeful and gentle. We will do these movements with various arm positions. The first arm position is the easiest. Please be sure to stay with the one that feels best for your body. We will demonstrate them all. Take the right hand to the waist and then the left. Roll the shoulders open. And on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale to the center. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale back to the center. Roll the shoulders up, back, and down. And on the next inhale, gently pull the navel towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin and feel a sense of lengthening through the front of the body. On the next exhale, begin to fold gently forward. It does not have to be all the way. Bend the knees slightly. Inhale and rise back to a standing position. Open the left arm to the side. Keep the elbow bent. Leave the right hand on the waist. Inhale. Exhale, lean slightly to the right, and then return back to the center. Bring the left hand down to the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. Exhale and lengthen to the left. Return to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Gently pull the navel in towards the spine. Pull the shoulder blades softly together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward halfway. Inhale back to standing. Open the left arm again. Inhale, and on the exhale, lean to the right. Inhale and return back to the center. Place the left hand on the waist. Lift the right arm. Inhale. On the exhale, lean to the left. Inhale and return back to the center. Roll the shoulders open. Lengthen through the front of the body. Slightly pull the shoulder blades together. Get a small lift in the chin. Exhale and fold forward. Knees slightly bent. Inhale and return to standing in mountain pose. Pause for a moment. Inhale and exhale. For this warrior sequence, attempt to keep the movements gentle and relaxed. If you notice that you are struggling, move the feet closer together. Lower the arms or make the movements smaller. This pose is great for strengthening the legs, respiration, and opening the shoulders. Step the left foot forward just a few feet. The back foot points in at a 45-degree angle. The front knee bends and the hips face front if possible. Inhale, open the arms and bend at the elbows. On the exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards each other. Inhale, open the arms and push the heart softly forwards. Relax the shoulders. Exhale, bring the arms together. Inhale, open the arms to where you feel comfortable. Exhale, relax the arms inwards. Inhale, open and expand. Exhale, contract. Inhale, exhale. Bring the hands back down by the side. Return to mountain pose. One breath here. Inhale, exhale. Step the right foot forward. Take a moment, there's no rush. Ground the back foot into the floor. Bend the front knee. When you are ready, open the arms. Inhale. Exhale, bring the hands and elbows towards one another. Inhale, open the arms. This is a relaxed opening in the chest. Exhale, bring the hands and arms towards one another. Inhale, repeat again, creating spaciousness with a full inhale. Exhale, contract and relax the arms slightly. 2 more times at your own pace. Inhale, open. Exhale, close. Let the hands rest down by the side and return back to mountain pose. Pause here for a few breaths.
Welcome back to the 42nd online episode of Peacetime, hosted every Sunday morning by Peace Point with myself, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, live streaming from our meditation center in London, UK. Last time you saw me, we looked at an orientation to enlightened living. With the Dhamma talk today, we will continue our series on enlightened living with the blessing number 1, not associating with fools. So today's session will run to about an hour and 10 minutes with a 25-minute talk on how to acquire discretion and how fools impede this. 20 minutes of meditation and then 25 minutes explaining telltale signs of fools and how to avoid associating with them. But first, before we embark on the first blessing, let's look at the first group of blessings, of which it is a part, where the group is entitled Turning Your Back on Unwholesomeness. The theory behind this first group of blessings is that goodness doesn't come unpackaged. It comes as part and parcel of the person who does good deeds and exemplifies them. Goodness is transmitted between people by the example a good person sets for others, and by a good person's advice to people whose level of goodness is not as developed as them. Such guidance from good exemplars strongly influences our view and understanding of life in the world. To begin with, we have no idea what goodness is. Some people tell us that such and such a thing is good. Others tell us that something completely different is good. Who should we believe? And when we ask them why they consider something to be good, no one seems to know the answer. This is why, if we want to learn how to do good deeds, we need to be able to make decisions about our lives, even from the time that we are still unable to tell a difference between good and bad. Although we might be running blind, there are certain indicators that allow us to tell a difference between people who habitually do good and those mixed up in unwholesomeness. The first step on this path is recognizing people habitually mixed up in unwholesomeness, so that we can make our first step towards goodness by avoiding such people. Our next step towards goodness is to associate with people who are habitually well-behaved. The third step is to celebrate those who are habitually good so that we can start to overcome any faults in ourselves. This is why the first group of blessings is almost entirely connected with being selective about our friends. For the 38 blessings of life, although all the blessings are important, all of the latter 37 hinge on the first. This is why you could say that of all the blessings, the first is the most important. You can also think of this blessing, not associating with fools, as being like the first step on a long journey, without which the voyage can never begin. It is hard to find a person who intentionally sets out to ruin their lives. Everyone wants to feel that they are profiting from the years that pass them by, to give them a sense of success and achievement in their lives. However, the way a person defines profit in life will dictate where they channel their efforts. An entrepreneur defines profit in economic terms, so they devote their time to earning as much as they can. A criminal might define achievement by cracking the most impenetrable safe in the world, or ripping off as many people as they can. A criminal doesn't particularly want to live their life dishonestly, but they think that being a criminal is either normal or at least good enough. Although everyone seeks success in their various ways, in the long run, they may be left with regrets in their mind. If you ask why a different perception of success in life can make such a difference to one's destiny, it is because this common sense affects the decisions we make about the world, and these decisions drive everything else that we say and do. In these 38 blessings of life, we call such common sense discretion. It is the basic understanding by which we judge each experience and situation in the world. It is what we consider normal about the world, and it defines our perception of what each choice is likely to be beneficial for us or harmful. Discretion is a personal quality we acquire, test, and calibrate as a result of the experiences we encounter in life. It's not a quality we can get by reading about it, buying it, downloading it, or memorizing it. It can only come as a result of our transactions with real people. It's a quality often unspoken but easily picked up by example. Thus, discretion doesn't come unpackaged, but is part of the character of the influencers advocating it. There are two major influences on the formation of discretion in a person: nurture and nature. The first major influence that we call nurture is the example of those people we are closest to, such as our family and friends. The second major influence is our formation of discretion, which you could call our nature, is ourselves. Sometimes we refer to this latter ability as being a teacher to ourselves, or in Buddhist jargon, yoniso manasikan. Even if you have been listening to good or bad advice from friends, you always have to reflect on the value of the advice and to justify it to yourself before getting down to following it. If you have accurate discretion when you reflect on advice given, even given faulty data, you would have the common sense to see through the loopholes and come out with the right decision required by the situation. Unlike the person with unreliable discretion, who even when given reliable data, will still get the wrong end of the stick. More commonly, though, discretion brushes off on us from the example of other people through our transactions with them. As we mature further, we start to be able to fine-tune our intuitive discretion and come to accurate conclusions independent of other people. However, lacking such maturity, in the beginning, we have no idea what constitutes a sensible decision and what constitutes neglect. This is why we are learning discretion. We are at first very vulnerable to the examples set by others because bad or warped examples may derail the way we think for the rest of our life. On the other hand, an upstanding example has the power to correctly calibrate our thinking for the rest of our lives. It's being compared to a burning hovel next to a palace. To associate with a fool, no matter how good we might originally be, is like building a palace next to a hovel. Whenever the hovel catches fire, no matter how great the palace's fire risk assessment, as soon as the hovel goes up in flames, the palace will burn down as well, just like the virtuous person destroyed by association with a fool. Every time we have a transaction with a person, it's like a tug of war between us to see whose discretion will brush off on who. In a situation where people are unable to recognize good or bad examples of discretion, then the exchange of discretion will be like osmosis, flowing from the point of high concentration to a point of low concentration. If person A has a lot of good discretion and person B less, then A's good discretion will tend to brush off on B. If person C has a lot of bad discretion and person D less, then person C's bad discretion will tend to brush off on person D. In practice, though, as adults with a certain degree of life experience, we don't naively let others' habits brush off on us. If we are able to recognize good habits and good discretion, then we will open ourselves up preferentially to absorb them. Similarly, If we recognize bad habits, then we will try to protect ourselves from picking those habits up. This is why normally we are selective and try to the best of our ability to pick up only good habits while avoiding the bad ones. In this way, we can have transactions with others without losing our own virtues under their influence. You can compare it to visiting someone in hospital who has a fever. You can visit them, talk to them, and console them. You can do all of these things without catching their fever, but you would try to avoid having them sneeze over you. There are, however, certain sorts of patients and some sorts of illness that are so dangerous that we cannot afford to have any transaction with that person. Such diseases like, for example, the plague, are so contagious that it is not safe for healthy people to come anywhere near them. Such patients, by the nature of their disease, need to be quarantined in an isolation ward with no visitors. Equally, when considering the transmission of discretion, there are some cases of those so contagiously infected with faulty discretion that despite our immunity or our efforts to be selective, we will nonetheless be infected by their faulty discretion. And at this point, you might bring to mind the phenomenon of grooming. If we started with healthy discretion, it would be undermined by the intentional or unintentional interventions of those people. The danger to us is even greater if we are still inexperienced and impressionable, perhaps like children who lack worldly experience and don't even know what it means to be selective. Those purveyors of faulty discretion are the first and most fundamental obstacles that we will meet when we are trying to acquire blessings. In the 38 blessings of life, we call such people by the technical name of fools, because that's a translation from the Pali word pala. And before going any further, I'll tell a story to illustrate the sort of person I'm talking about. In the time of the Buddha, there was an elder monk of outstanding reputation named Mahakassapa, a traditional picture of whom is shown here in the slide. He was respected by all the other members of the monastic community, even by the Buddha himself. It was the norm for elder monks of the community to accept novices as their attendants in order that those new monks could receive training. Some of the elders accepted more than others in keeping with their ability as teachers. The Venerable Mahakassapa accepted several novices, but it turned out that amongst the number was a stubborn novice called Ulunka Sadaka, who wouldn't listen to anyone's advice. On winter evenings, it was the duty of the novices to boil water for the elder monks to take a bath in comfort. The stubborn novice would never boil water for Mahakassapa in accordance with his duty. He would always leave the chore of boiling the water to his fellows while going himself to invite Mahakassapa to wash, as if he had boiled the water himself. One day, in exasperation, the other novices heated water for Mahakassapa's bath and then hid it in the back room, leaving only a little in the boiler. When the novice Ulunka Sadaka saw the steam rising, he informed Mahakassapa that his bath was ready. When the elder asked where the water was, Ulunka Sadaka dipped a ladle into the almost empty boiler, and the ladle rattled, and the novice's deceit became obvious. The story spread around from that time onwards, and he got stuck with the nickname Ulunka Sadaka, which literally means rattling ladle. Everything else the stubborn novice did was in the same vein. Instead of going on alms round, if he fancied something special to eat, the stubborn novice would claim to temple supporters that Mahakassapa wanted such and such to eat, and when they bought such and such as a gift to offer, he would eat it himself. Mahakassapa knew what was going on, and he warned the stubborn monk. To be so lacking in respect is not in keeping with having taken ordination. You must train yourself better than this in the future. Mahakassapa warned the stubborn novice continuously, but the only effect of the criticism was to make him feel as if his master was singling him out for unfair criticism. The more advice he received from his master, the more victimized he felt. Instead of feeling grateful for all the patience his master had shown him, he planned on getting revenge. The next day, going out on alms round with the rest of the novices to gather the master's breakfast, this novice stayed behind until no one was left at the accommodation and set it on fire, burning it down before running away. Venerable Mahakassapa and the other novices returned from the alms round to find their accommodation reduced to ashes. So this is an illustration of the dangers of associating with fools who get angry even when spoken to decently, namely the novice Ulunka Sadaka, who put his own master's accommodation to the flame, even though his master had only ever spoken kind words to him. This is one of the identifying features of a fool and is the reason why we have to beware of this sort of person, and why, even though it would seem compassionate to give everyone an equal chance, the Buddha suggested that Mahakassapa would have been better not to take on the novice of such a character in the first place. A fool, by definition, is someone perceived as wicked, weak, or feeble. They are made feeble by the fact that they habitually think, say, or do things which are unwholesome. The gap in common sense that allows them to justify such unwholesome behavior derives from them not having their mind centered or under their control. To call such a dangerous person a fool might seem like an understatement, because some fools might be psychopaths or even clever manipulators. But how can we use the term feeble or a fool? A fool is weak, like a person with a serious disease is weak. We do not fear them on the basis of their strength or knowledge or ability to think, but because their habits are contagious. Human beings have 4 potential sources of power. The first of these is physical strength. Any healthy person with plenty of muscles possesses the first storehouse of power. The second is the strength of knowledge, which is derived from education and life experience. Having the ability to apply educated reasoning in useful subjects is the second storehouse of power. The third is the strength of thought. Some people go through the same number of classes together, have the equal amount of knowledge, but their ability to think through things using their knowledge may not be equal. Someone may know how to fix a car engine, but they might sit idle all day long. Why don't they offer their services as a mechanic or go into manufacturing instead of sitting around all day long, waiting for someone else to find them a job? The reason is that they have knowledge, but they lack the ability or inclination to apply their knowledge. This is why if anyone uses both their strength of knowledge and their strength of thought, they are at a great advantage, because they are endowed with that third storehouse of energy. The fourth and final strength is the strength of virtue. When one has both the strengths of thought and mindfulness and applies those strengths to forge benefit for oneself and others, one can be said to be endowed with the fourth storehouse of power, the strength of virtue. Every person has a potential to be endowed with all 4 storehouses of power: strength, knowledge, thought, and virtue. Even if someone is endowed with some of these storehouses of power, if their judgment is faulty, they will not be able to put their potential to the full use. If, for example, a foolish guy may be physically strong, may have a chemistry PhD and the inclination to apply their knowledge, but if they apply their knowledge of chemistry for dishonest purposes, such as the Breaking Bad characters cooking up meth, they undermine their potential. They are like a 4-piston car which is running on only 3. This is why, if you know you're not firing on all 4 pistons, especially the last of the 4, you need to make some urgent repairs before your whole engine seizes up. In conclusion, a fool is defined as feeble because they are weak at doing good deeds. Now that we know about the risk fools present to the discretion of those around them, and know a little about the reason for a fool's weaknesses, the next challenge that faces us is how to protect ourselves from them. As we shall see, the first of all, we need to be able to recognize fools so that we can more easily protect ourselves from their influence. But now, with a view to cultivating our own storehouse of virtue, let's take a break halfway for some meditation, which today is entitled 2 Ways of Practicing Loving Kindness. So at this time, we settle ourselves down for 20 minutes of meditation. If you'd like to find a comfortable sitting position for yourself now as you listen to my guidance. So we start by sitting up straight. Whether we're sitting on a meditation mat or on a chair, we try to have our back elongated. We relax and close our eyes, allowing the whole of our body to relax, beginning with the muscles of our face, then our shoulders, our arms, down to the tips of our fingers. We relax our torso, both legs, all the way down to the tips of our toes, allowing the whole of our body to rest more and more. And at this point, you can imagine yourself sitting quietly, all alone, relaxing yourself. You allow the whole body to come to a state of rest. And you also allow the mind to be free, allowing the mind to dance its own dance without constraining it. So we don't attempt to apply any force. If the mind needs to think, allow it to think. If it needs to daydream, then allow it to daydream. Whatever the mind needs to feel, we allow it to do so. Just be as aware of what is happening as if you're watching clouds passing through the sky. And by doing so, the conscious and unconscious parts of the mind are drawn closer together, which is the goal that we hope to experience. So we quietly observe the dance of the consciousness. And we will find that this simple technique allows us to let go of any energy, frustration, worry, or anxiety that we were experiencing previously. And when we feel relaxed and refreshed, both in body and in mind, very gently and using no effort at all, you can imagine that inside your body is just an empty space or a hollow cavity with no organs or tissues, muscles or bones. As if your whole body has been transformed into a sort of transparent bubble with nothing on the inside. And within this empty space of your body and mind, you can call to mind a picture of something like a bright, shining sun, or alternatively a full moon, a star, or perhaps a sparkling diamond, about the size of a small and shining pearl. But this time we are relocating that imaginary object to bring it within the space of our own body. We don't worry too much if the actual picture is not very clear. Even if it's vague, we accept it anyway. And bear in mind that for about half the people who meditate, it's going to be more of a feeling than a picture. But whatever the case, whether it is an object we can see or an object we can feel, feeling it by its warmth or shape or texture, we allow that object to float slowly downwards within the space of our body, almost as if we were slowly breathing the object down to the deepest point of our breath, or as if we were gently swallowing the object down within ourselves to reach the deepest point of our stomach. And once it reaches that point, or a point that feels comfortable for us, down inside ourselves, we gently maintain that inner object at the center of ourselves as continuously as we can, for as long as we can, not letting our attention slip away anywhere else if we can help it. If we find our attention wandering away, then it's not the end of the world. We simply bring our attention back to that inner object again. If the inner object disappears, then we just think of a new one. Once the imaginary object has entered the center of the body, it remains at that point within you. We imagine that it's beginning to shine more and more, or that the feeling of well-being inside us spreads outwards more and more. We allow the whole body to shine forth with the light of peace, happiness, beauty, and joy. We allow the whole body to glow brighter and brighter with the light. And today, as we meditate, we will try out 2 ways we can spread this light of loving kindness. One way is to spread the loving kindness, starting with easy people and moving on to more difficult ones. The second way to spread loving kindness is to spread the light of loving kindness in ever widening circles, geographically, without thinking of specific people. So today we'll compare which of the 2 methods suits us the best. So if you'd like to try the first way of spreading loving kindness, we should begin, as is traditional, with loving kindness, by spreading that loving kindness to ourselves first of all. So we imagine ourselves with that pure, loving energy at the center of our body. Even if it doesn't take a specific form, you might imagine it as a warm or glowing light or energy that is at your center. And the idea is just to spread a sense of love from your center to your whole body. Just imagine a real sense of love and kindness radiating out from the center and infusing your body with a sense of being loved, being looked after, being soothed and comforted. So just take a moment and really bask in that loving energy and let it open you up in a deep way. Allow yourself to let go into that loving feeling and offer the affirmation to yourself, may I be well and happy, may I be free of suffering. Imagine your body being infused by this warm, caring, glowing energy. And just get a sense of what it feels like to accept your own loving kindness. Notice any thoughts that might get in the way of that, or if you find that difficult, or if you feel yourself objecting to being loved. Just see if you can let go of those thoughts, and just see what it might be like to allow yourself to feel that love. And stay with that feeling for a moment. And now you can move on to think of someone who's very special to you, a dear friend or a family member. Just bring to mind someone like that who's important to you and special in your life. And picture them in miniature at the center of your body, and use your awareness to connect deeply at that person's center, the center of this person who's so dear to you. And recognize that just like you, this person has hopes and fears. This person has joys and sorrows. Just like you, this person feels sad sometimes, gets lonely sometimes. This person's just like you in that they really want to be loved and accepted. They want to be happy and safe. So see if you can connect in some way with that sense of being the same on a deeply human level. That we all suffer, we all want to be loved. So just imagine being able to send some loving energy to that person. So from your center, send forth some loving, warm energy to that person. Perhaps you can offer some loving phrases. May you be happy, may you be safe. May you feel deeply loved and connected. And imagine emanating that warm, loving energy from your center. Perhaps imagine a golden, warm light flowing out from your center and connecting with that person's center. As you send them your loving kindness. And now just really think about how you'd like to engage with that person in real life. What kind of qualities would you want to bring into your friendship with that person? How can you demonstrate your sense of loving kindness to this person in real and concrete ways? Through what you say to them, or how you listen to them, or how you behave when you're in their presence. And just get a sense of what that might look like. And now I'd like you to bring to mind a purely neutral person, perhaps a vague acquaintance, perhaps someone you see quite regularly, such as a person at the checkout in your supermarket, or someone who lives on the same street that you see occasionally but don't really know, or just complete strangers, those faces in the crowd. So bring the miniature image of someone like this to your center. And now consider that even though you know nothing about this person, and in many ways they might not seem that important to you, But think about the fact that just like you, this person too has hopes and fears. This person has joys and sorrows. This person gets sad sometimes, feels lonely sometimes. This person, just like you, wants to feel that they are loved and accepted, and they want to feel happy and safe. So again, just to know that in some deeply fundamental way, you are the same as this person. You share this common humanity with all its joys and sorrows. So see what it may feel like to send some loving kindness to this person too. Imagine that you can send your sense of goodwill and warmth and kindness to these people that we usually ignore or are completely indifferent to. So imagine again emanating warm, loving energy from our center to these people. Imagine that a warm golden light flows out from our center, surrounding and engulfing this neutral person with a real sense of warmth and love. And now just consider how you might want to engage with this person in your daily life, whether that's just exchanging brief eye contact, or connecting with a smile, or perhaps just sending a sense of goodwill and kindness to them in your thoughts. Or perhaps you want to pay a little bit more attention next time you're in the checkout. Just think of some way that you can maintain some kind of connection with this real person, this real human being at your center. To engage in a brief, kindly exchange. Just get a sense of what that might be like. And now bring to mind someone who might be quite difficult for you. To start with, perhaps it's best to start with someone who's just slightly difficult. But as you repeat this exercise, you can gradually work up to spreading loving kindness to people who are really quite difficult and might otherwise bring up painful emotions for you. But for now, just start with someone who's difficult in some way. The sense of discomfort there, perhaps concerning something they have done or said that's caused hurt in you. As you think about this person, consider that just like you, they too sometimes struggle with feelings of hurt or anger or disappointment. Perhaps the fact that you find them difficult is explained by the fact that they have had problems and difficulties in their life too. It has somehow caused them to behave in an unhelpful way. Everyone can recall ways that we ourselves have been caught up by a difficult emotion and then said or acted in an unskillful way. And equally, that could have been painful for someone else. So this difficult person is just like you. They too have their hopes and fears. They too feel sad and lonely sometimes. And just like you, they struggle with difficult emotions. This person's just like you in that they want to feel that they are loved and accepted. They want to be happy, even if they may pursue that in unskillful ways. It's an emotion we all share, just to feel safe and happy. Just experiment with allowing some of that love to be directed towards this difficult person too. To see if you'd be sufficiently courageous and willing to get past some of your hurt and spread some warmth and loving kindness toward this person. Now just think about how you would like to engage with this person. how you like to interact with this person if you decide you want to interact with this person. If you make the decision that it is important for you to interact with them, how would you want that to look? How would you want to offer something to this person or bring something to this relationship? Think of concrete ways that you might be able to demonstrate your willingness to engage or your goodwill towards this person despite the things that might have happened between you. You might decide that you don't want to interact with the person, and that's okay. The question is, if it's important for you to initiate a truce of some sort, how might you go about doing that? So now, just to get a sense of seeing all of these different sorts of people appearing at your center, your friends and loved ones, the neutral people that we don't really feel strongly for or against, and those difficult people too. We imagine them all gathered there at our center. We imagine being able to offer them all a sense of love and kindness, and to ourselves as well. And we spread forth that golden, warm energy, offering it to all these people. And as we continue to practice this exercise, we can work on expanding outwards with our goodwill and warmth and kindness and love to wider and wider circles of people. The second way to spread loving kindness is in ever-expanding geographic circles. And we allow the whole body to shine with the light of love, the light of peace, beauty, happiness and joy. Allow the whole body to emanate forth the light of loving kindness more and more, brighter and brighter, more and more, in front and behind us, to our right and our left, above and below. Allowing the whole body to shine, pervading the light of love, peace, happiness and joy into our hearts and our souls, all across the land. We allow the light to cover people, houses, buildings, villages, towns and cities, fields and forests, mountains and valleys, lakes, seas and oceans, from horizon to horizon, embracing the entire world, deep into the ground, allowing that light of loving kindness to pervade deeper and deeper, embracing all lives in the layers and layers of rocks and stones, soils and dust, no matter how insignificant they may seem, with the wish that may all living beings there be well and happy, may all be free from suffering. We continue to share this light of love, peace and happiness, beauty and joy, deeper into the water, deeper into the sea, deeper down into the oceans, allowing that light of loving kindness to perfuse the ocean waters, with the wish that all living beings may be well and happy, may be free of suffering. We share this light of love, peace and joy more and more, allowing the light to expand without limit, embracing all, nurturing all, healing all, forgiving all, more and more without end. And increasingly we allow the body to shine forth deeper and deeper into the sky, reaching out to the stars, planets, suns and moons, allowing the light to expand, covering the entire galaxy, the seas of stars, reaching out to the entire universe with the wish that may all living beings in the entire universe be well and happy, be free from all suffering. And we share this light of love, peace, happiness and joy to every living being in the universe with the wish, may there be peace among people, may there be peace amongst nations. May we witness lasting peace, love, and care in all the hearts and souls, to bring peace to our planet within our own lifetimes. We allow the light of loving kindness to shine with an all-embracing light, more and more without end. And this loving kindness exercise is based on a very ancient practice, as is testified by an old Indian account of a hermit who used to retire to the seclusion of the forest for meditation. It was his habit to favor the practice of meditation on loving kindness on a regular basis, by day and by night. Whenever his mind was at ease, he would spread loving kindness, facing east with the intention that may all living beings in the direction in front of me in the eastern quarter, even the smallest creatures, whether 2-footed, 4-footed, with many legs or no legs at all, be pervaded by my loving kindness. May all living beings enjoy happiness and be free from all suffering. The next day he might spread loving kindness in the same way in the western quarter, the northern quarter, the southern quarter, upwards or below. He spread loving kindness in this way in all directions, consistently and regularly, until it became his habit. Whenever he slept in happiness, as if slipping into deep meditation. It would bring him joy the whole of the time, and he would have a dreamless sleep. If he ever dreamed, then it would be of auspicious things. On waking, he felt refreshed, free of sleepiness. He always had a very radiant complexion because of his practice. And even if there's danger in his midst, it would never harm him. He was loved and respected by people, celestial beings, and forest creatures alike. He was able to enter upon meditation easily and attain the absorptions quickly. His mind coming to a standstill swiftly because he was able to let go quickly of external events, bearing no anger or grudges toward anyone. His mind was bright at the center of his body, brighter than the sun at midday. As a result of his loving kindness, the forest became abundant with fruit. Even animals that were sworn enemies, like deer and tigers, that came into the vicinity of the forest, were able to coexist in harmony, because their minds were pacified by the loving kindness they felt towards one another. These are some of the fruits of spreading loving kindness which appear even in the present lifetime. So having spread loving kindness in the two ways we have explored today, we condense our awareness back down to the center of our body again, taking careful note of the brightness, the clarity, the feeling of peace and joy at the center of the body. In particular, taking mental note of the feeling of well-being at the center of our body. Remembering this feeling as well as we can, because this feeling of well-being is very important for us. It represents the state of progress in meditation that we've built up until now. If we can remember this feeling as well as we can, the next time we come to meditate again, we can start again from this feeling. Starting again from this feeling, we continue to make progress next time we come to meditate. So for the last few minutes of this meditation, we take a few moments to take note of the state of our own progress in meditation, remembering the feeling as well as we can for the last few moments in silence. Sabba Buddha Nupavena, Sabba Dhamma Nupavena, Sabba Sankha Nupavena, Sattha Soti Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for today, you can gradually open your eyes again. If you feel at all uncomfortable, then slowly try changing to a more comfortable position and gently finish your practice. So when trying to identify whether someone is a fool or not, we cannot base our judgment on external appearances. The things we should avoid basing our judgment on are things that include gender, age, provenance, nationality, connections, knowledge, job, or wealth. Instead, we need to base our judgment on internal features. Although fools are characterized by their habitually unwholesome actions of body, speech, and mind, because all of these come from within, they might not be obvious to us, especially if we have still not honed our observation skills. External aspects of a person's identity are only indirectly connected with the quality of the mind. When we want to identify a fool, we need to look for deeper aspects that betray that person's underlying quality of mind. The sort of behaviors that are most telling are those that come out in the context of our interaction and friendship with them. Since we can't tell what others are thinking, the best we can do is try to notice the things which others express openly. In other words, their words and actions. Even fools can have chinks in their armor, which will be revealed as we interact with them. In fact, there are 5 in all. Firstly, they are likely to persuade others to do unwholesome things. Not only does a fool persuade others to do unwholesome things, they will also provide an example of unwholesomeness for others to follow. They might skip work on the slightest trivial pretext and persuade their colleagues to do the same. Secondly, they like to interfere in things that are none of their business. A cleaner has the duty simply to keep the office presentable. But if instead of doing their duty, they leave their work undone and spend their time rummaging through the waste paper baskets for trade secrets, this would be a telltale sign that they are a fool. Similarly, an office worker who tries to teach the cleaner how to do their job would be regarded with similar suspicion as interfering beyond their remit. Thirdly, a fool will like anything that is improper. Fools have a dislike for anything that is right and proper. They like playing with fire, drugs, gambling, and cage fighting. They like any opportunity to throw a monkey wrench in the works, or as they say here in England, a spanner. Or you can be sure that anything they like leaves a trail of enemies. Even if they join the monkhood, they will end up causing a schism in the monastic order. Their attitude to the world is the same as the one illustrated in the traditional tale I'd like to tell you about an angel and a worm. Once upon a time, there were two young men who were friends. How they came to be friends, no one knew, because one was outstanding and enjoyed helping with charitable work, while the other one did only unwholesome things all their life long, like cockfighting, fish fighting, taking drugs, and coming home drunk. When the latter was a storekeeper, he would sell only rip-offs or stolen merchandise. When he was a teacher, he wouldn't teach normal subjects to his pupils. He would teach them how to get away with murder. Even with such different tastes, the two guys managed to keep up their friendship until both of them passed away. When the good guy died, he was reborn as an angel in heaven. One day, the angel was wondering what had become of his friend. The angel surveyed every level of heaven, but couldn't find him. Then he checked the human realm, but again his friend was nowhere to be found. The angel made a further check and was surprised to see that his friend had been reborn as a worm in a toilet. The angel wondered what he could do to help his friend, and, tolerating the sickening smell of the toilet, out of compassion, to stand at the edge of the toilet bowl, and he made himself known to his friend. He changed himself into his original human appearance and announced, "Old friend, do you remember me?" "Of course," said the worm. "We used to be friends a long time ago." "Oh, worm," said the angel, "today I have come to do you the biggest favor of your life. I have come to invite you to join the heavenly host. However, there is one condition. If you want to be an angel, you have to keep all the precepts without breaking any of them from this day onwards. You must only think meritorious thoughts and do meritorious deeds, and before long we will be able to live in the same level of heaven." "What's so great about being an angel?" asked the worm. The angel explained patiently, "You can get whatever you wish instantly simply by thinking of it. As soon as you think of food, then ambrosia manifests itself. If you think of clothing, then instantly you are clothed in angelic raiment. If you think of heavenly mansions, then a heavenly mansion will arise instantaneously. All you have to do is make the intention and hundreds of good things will come your way." "In that case, I don't want to be an angel. I'm better off as a worm, thank you." "What do you mean?" asked the angel. The worm continued, "If you're an angel, then you have to make the wish before you get what you want. But as a worm, people come along, they raise the toilet lid and give me exactly what I want all day long. Just leave me alone because I'm better off as a worm." Because of the fixed idea a fool has of what is normal and desirable in life, it is beyond any effort by a rational person to convince them otherwise. So to come back to the remaining telltale signs of a fool, the fourth one is that, rather like Ulunka Saraka of my previous story, they get angry even when spoken to decently. Suppose a well-intentioned parent advises their son that he should be revising instead of going out in the evening with his friends, so close to his examinations. The boy might shout back, "How can you say that? Didn't you go for outings when you were younger?" Often the other person knows that they are in the wrong, but when they are found out and their fault is discovered, then they lose their temper, which is a mark of a fool. A fool is like a person covered in open wounds. If they bump into something, even only lightly, it hurts them. For a fool, their mind is covered in open wounds, and when confronted with the truth, it hurts them. Sometimes even just a glance in their direction is enough to provoke aggression. Lastly, they refuse to comply with rules and regulations. Fools heed neither laws of the land nor local customs. If you meet someone who refuses to comply with regulations, you can be 99% sure that you're dealing with a fool. If it wasn't for the law, there would be a lot more opportunity for fools to express themselves unashamedly. In fact, you could say that it is probably because of fools existing in the world that laws had to be laid down in the first place. Since the law forces fools to go underground with their inclinations, we generally have to recognize fools from the first 4 sorts of behavior in the list. In conclusion, fools are people who assume the world owes them something. If you come across any of these 5 features, then it should already be ringing warning bells in your head. Some people who may appear outwardly to be friendly may in reality be fools masquerading as friends. The Buddha called such people false friends and categorized them into 4 types, each with 4 characteristics, giving a further 16 warning signs to look out for. With friends like these, who needs enemies? In overview, the main types of false friends are firstly, the mercenary, secondly, the man of empty promises, thirdly, the flatterer, and lastly, the one who leads you down the road to ruin. To expand on these 4 characterizations, a mercenary or selfish friend is one who tries to appropriate your possessions, sacrifices little in the hope of gaining much, helps others only when threatened by the same danger, and only makes friends to serve their own interests. A man of empty promises is the sort of false friend who tells you how sad they are not to have been able to share with you something that has already run out, who promises to share with you things they don't have yet, who tries to win your favor with empty promises, and who has excuses every time you call upon them to help. A flatterer is the sort of person who sucks up to you indiscriminately, whether you're doing good or bad things, who sings praises to your face, but who gossips about you behind your back. Final sort of false friend is the sort that leads you down the road to ruin by being your loyal drinking companion, by being at your side when you roam the streets at unseemly hours, by frequenting games and shows with you, and by accompanying you to the gambling table. Such behaviors illustrate 16 ways in which a fool will unwittingly reveal their malevolent intentions in friendship. Besides leading us to ruin, such people pull society unfalteringly in a direction of deterioration, in a way which is hard to remedy. If you come across any of these 16 features, then you should already be looking for friendship elsewhere. In the old days, the word grooming had quite a positive connotation, rather like pampering a pet or preparing someone for a leading position in office. Lately, however, the meaning of the word grooming has started to take on a more scary meaning, which imparts some of the same foreboding as that implied by associating with fools. There's a traditional proverb that teaches, always keep a safe distance, keep a hound at arm's length, give a monkey 6 feet, but for a fool 100,000 miles may not be enough. As mentioned earlier, when a person has such a dangerously contagious disease as faulty discretion, we have no alternative but to isolate them. However, as we shall see, it's not physical distance which we use to isolate a fool, it's more how we maintain psychological distance. When we talk about associating with others, what is the best way to patrol our psychological boundaries? In fact, there are 7 different stages by which we might unwittingly put ourselves in harm's way with fools. It starts from the moment we meet up with fools. This could be called associating with fools, but only in its most rudimentary form. Of course, such association may not lead to anything after all. It's just us visiting them and them visiting us. We may not even particularly enjoy each other's company. But before long, we get closer to them. This is once you start to get more familiar with the fools you meet up with and start lending things to one another, talking on subjects of common interest and following a particular common pastime. Thirdly, we feel admiration for them. This is once you start to get more familiar, you start to believe that you have common tastes. You start to believe that you like anything that they like. Fourthly, you end up emulating them. Fifthly, after a while, you start to find that you are bending your ideas of the word normal to fit that fool's idea of the normal. Sixthly, you start joining in with them. This is the part in the grooming process where they might ask you to perform small rebellious tasks to prove yourself worthy. Seventh and last, you get instilled with their habits. In the final stages of association, to the casual observer, it would be impossible to tell you apart from the fool. It's also come to the stage where it is impossible to reverse the effects of the fool over you. Thus, for anyone who is in the orbit of a fool, they should realize that even casual contact can lead to something more serious. There will be an unavoidable escalation of intimacy even without realizing it. If we know someone is a fool, but we are forced into a situation of contact with them, what can we aim for is limiting the relationship to interaction without transaction. An easy way to avoid going a step too far with fools is to remember 3 danger words, namely joining, receiving, and giving. Joining up with fools means eating, residing, and investing with them. Receiving fools means dating them, adopting them, employing them, or otherwise letting them get their feet under your table. Giving things to fools might mean giving them consideration, praise, encouragement, lodging, food, or payment. If you're associating with fools at any of these 3 levels, then you should try to redraw your boundaries before sustaining any further damage. In conclusion, relating to fools we are likely to come across in the outside world, although there is a temptation just to shun anyone with the unsavory characteristics of a fool that we've listed. If we are parents and we suspect our own children are mixed up with or turning into fools, we still have the special responsibility to put ourselves in harm's way in order to show our unconditional love for our children. And we shouldn't worry about overreach in things like the sort of friends our kids associate with, and we might even intervene to choose a school or a teacher for our children to help them avoid associating with fools. I'll come back to this subject in more detail in Blessing 13. Nevertheless, a little extra attention from the outset of our study of the blessings can help to ensure a bright future for our family, preventing tears when it's too late to reverse the problems for something like drug addiction. Some people think that they already have enough discretion to choose their friends and thus overlook the importance of the first blessing. In fact, even though we might be experienced and worldly wise, there is a fool with whom we have to associate cautiously throughout our life, and that is our inner fool. Just as there are many fools in the outside world, the danger doesn't end when we close our front door. We still have our inner fool to contend with, which is like a little devil that seems all too ready to justify every unwholesome temptation in our mind. The inner fool is the erroneous discretion that creeps into our heads, and our only protection is to avoid listening to the ravings of the fool still lurking in our mind. Particularly as meditators already working with our mind, it will be increasingly obvious that we need to avoid listening to the foolish part of ourselves. Otherwise, it will spill over to get us to latch onto fools in the outside world. In order to avoid encouraging the inner fool, you need firstly to steer clear of involvement with any sort of unwholesomeness and stay away from all of the forms of roads to ruin. Don't go thinking that the odd game of poker amongst friends just to keep your hand in can surely be no harm to anybody. Draw a line under the temptation, right from the start. This way, you will save yourself from tears in the long run. Even if you are someone with weak tendencies in the direction of being a fool, such as liking to get up in the morning or ignoring the alarm clock, you should get tough with yourself right from the start by walking away from even the most minor unwholesome deeds. Secondly, make a break from any unwholesomeness that you may have done in the past. Doesn't matter what sort of bad habits you might have had in the past, don't give yourself even the smallest chance to relapse. Don't even speak of those things anymore. Thirdly, make sure good deeds become your habit. There's no need to think over your past failures or entangle yourself in the guilt concerning your past demons. Starting from today, you should practice generosity, self-discipline, and meditation continuously. In this way, any scars left by our old way of life will gradually heal, leaving only good behavior instead. Fourthly, in the case you have to associate with a fool, be especially careful. Sometimes we are put in a situation we are forced into close proximity with fools, even though we don't choose it. Sometimes, for example, we find that even our own boss is involved in corruption. If we refuse to have any part in their dealings, then we might get sacked. What should we do in such a situation? If we do everything they ask for, in the end, we might pick up their bad habits. Traditional advice for such a situation is that we should be as careful as if we were warming ourselves before a fire. If you get too close to the fire for too long, then you will get burned. If you keep too much distance, then you will be left shivering in the cold. Just as with the fire, you need to keep the appropriate distance from the fool, not too near and not too far. Lastly, you can associate with a fool only in the case that you are sure you have the tenacity to help them. Jumping into the water to save a drowning person is only sensible if you're able to swim yourself. Otherwise, you'll get two drowning people. Whether you can really help a fool or not depends whether your own virtue is sufficiently steadfast to allow you to help them while remaining unscathed. If you don't have that tenacity yet, then keep your distance, even if they are your own relatives. If you come across a friend who takes no heed of your warnings, however many times you might tell them, then you might have to wait until they recognize their own mistakes before you can intervene. At which point they might be a little bit more ready to listen to you. It's not that you should be cruel, but you have to know your own limits. And if helping a fool is beyond your capacity, then you may have to run away to help you fight another day. Also, if you realize that the fool might be you, bear in mind the advice given in the Anguttara Nikaya's Acchaya Sutta. The ways we tend to behave when our inner fool gets the upper hand is that we tend to overlook the danger in small things. Worse than this, even if we know the danger of something, then we still do nothing about it. Worse still, when well-intentioned people go to the trouble to point out the danger of something to us, we refuse to accept it. You can become a wiser person only if you have all the opposite characteristics, namely, remaining alert to the danger in small things, being proactive in avoidance when we recognize the danger in something, and graciously accepting advice when well-meaning others point out dangers that we've overlooked. So this session, I have introduced blessing number 1, not associating with fools to you. My next live session online, which will, fingers crossed, be a week on Sunday morning, I'll move on to the second blessing on the topic of associating with the wise. For good measure, I would like to remind viewers, you can email your questions about meditation or what you have heard in this lecture to an email address as you can see spelled out on the slide. and I will do my best to answer these questions on my next session. In the meantime, I try to stay healthy, avoid recklessness or complacency in the face of the virus, maintain a positive mood, speak only positive words, forgive others, extend good wishes to others, and meditate daily. Hopefully, as a result of today's session, you will be equipped now to recognize fools in the outside world and in yourself, and you will now have a strategy to avoid associating with them. So today, this is me, Phra Nicholas Thanissaro, signing off for this session. So long, folks, and stay safe.